Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? What? God design.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining. We back again with another live episode. Today we're gonna be discussing, well, first of all, thanks for joining everybody that made it. If you took time out of your day to come and be with us, we're gonna make this very informative as always. We hope that you walk away with something that you didn't have before you got here. My name's Jordan Pittman. I'm your host with Exotic Bourbon Breeders. And today we're going to be discussing nature versus nurture, which is a long-running debate, which has more to do with how we end up as adults. With this ongoing debate, it ties in heavily with what we already been discussing: pedigrees, your bloodline, ancestry, genetics. Now we're going to get into your environment, which is very important to understand where you come from and where we're not talking about human beings right now. We get discussing the dogs, but it is relative. It ties in humans, dogs, the things that we know about our dogs, the things that we understand. It helps us understand ourselves better. So with that being said, let's start with the Borbal. Where does he come from? Where is his origins? We already discussed the lineage, how the dogs have been selected in rigid, harsh conditions that lended them to be a selection versus strong. Only the strongest would survive. So getting into our discussion now, we understand that the dog the life begins at conception. We have 50% of genetics coming from the father's side, 50% of the genetics coming from the mother's side. They meet somewhere in between in the middle, and then you have a baby, right? A puppy. Now, so the beginning part of it is healthy sperm, healthy egg, right? You have to have healthy parents in order to produce healthy sperm, healthy egg. What determines the dog's health or fitness for breeding has a lot to do with his environment. Okay. So we begin with a healthy stud dog and a healthy dam, or not. At that moment of conception, when the egg and the sperm fertilize, that begins the life cycle of the puppy. At that stage, everything that you're doing everything that happens to the mother has an effect on the egg and the puppy that's being born. So with that being into our evaluation of a breeding stock or a breeding program or a litter of puppies for sale, we want to make sure, or we want to be conscious of the fact, is this dog, what kind of conditions and environment is the dog subjected to prior to being conceived? How is the mom being raised on a day-to-day basis? What is her routine? All of these different hormones and feelings affect the development of the fetus, of your unborn fetus. So that's why we make the switch from soon as we complete our breedings, we make a switch from the raw diet to the kibble diet. Now, and then some people may say, oh my God, you're going from raw to kibble, right? Well, yes, that is a conscious decision that we make because we would like to provide as much as nutrition whether it be in abundance, whether it be an oversupply to the mom as we possibly can. And we use we don't use a specially formulated dog food, but we want it to be consistent in its delivery of nutrition. We want to do everything in our power to ensure a healthy developing fetus, which includes feeding the dog a certain food, making sure that she's happy, making sure that she's comfortable, and making sure that she remains that way throughout the pregnancy. So we feel that gives us a really good head start in the development of our litter and our puppies. Now, I don't want to speak on what other people do because that's not my business if that works for them. And I would like to just further explain why we do things a certain way and how that, not so much to promote our program or anything. I'm just using myself as an example because this is all community based. This is we're here to give you information and kind of explain, why we do what we do, how we do these things. So getting back to what I was saying, once the egg is fertilized, we feed the dog a certain way. We bring the moms to a very quiet, calm, stable environment where she is relaxed and unstressed. Because we remember she's transferring these things in, and we're not going to baby the dog to the point that it doesn't receive any stimulus. I'm not saying that because remember, we want to have balance. So you don't take them and baby them to the point that she is needing you for every single thing that she does. You want to still let her have her independence and treat give her her right to be a dog. So that means that she still will have duties for working. They may not be as extended. They may not be as intense. She may not be involved with the runs. She may not be involved with the extended exercise. What we will do though is still and let her be out with the pack. Let her still socialize as a normal, basically expecting mom. Or so we would just take that into consideration instead of treating her as working a full in her full capacity. She's just kind of in a relaxed state. Why are we doing that? And I would like for you to understand that a lot of this has to do with the final result of the puppy that a person takes. From that stage, we want, when the person or a client, new owner, gets your dog, it's already conditioned for a new environment. It will be able to handle environmental stimulus and stress relatively simply, relatively easily. It's not going to be stressed out or find itself stressed out. I mean, it will have confidence. So when that happens, it is now the new owner's job to take this dog that we've already prepared and conditioned. And we're doing this by, remember, we started with the dog when the mom was carrying the eggs all the way up into conception. We kept her healthy and stress-free. Then upon the delivery, it was relative. So we wanted the delivery to be simple, a natural delivery, because we've already cared for her and provided an environment that is already comparable to the origins that she was developed in. And that's why the run and the fitness and the athleticism is a key component of our breeding program. And I believe one of the reasons that we have extended or survived when others have faded is because we try to mimic as close to as possible the natural environment that the Border was developed in, the natural conditions that the Border was developed in. It's important to understand that this dog was covering thousands of acres on plantations on a day-to-day basis. And because of that, that's where you see this need for an athletic build and muscling. That's where you see this healthy, fit, robust dog that has survived or thrived for hundreds of years, where other large breed dogs have not. So you see in a lot of breeding programs, you see some people come like fly by night, and I think that they treat this dog like we treat a traditionally bred standardized dog breed, when it's very different. We're talking about a dog that's not farly removed from its origins. Okay, so some dogs, remember, when we get into genetics, they are passed down from dog generation to dog generation, and then it's kind of shaped by the environment. So you have these certain tendencies that go along with being looking a certain way, but it's also based on the environment that the dog was raised and developed in. It results in the dog having certain features or characteristics that adapt to the environment. So in certain regions, we may be hunting a different type of game. So we may require a different type of dog. We may be hunting hogs. A hog dog is different from a dog that you use to hunt deer, or a dog that you use to hunt coons is different than a dog that you use to hunt boars or elephants or lions. So the environment is going to shape the dog, and is going to, with not so much shape the dog, is going to invoke or manifest the dog's natural instincts once this environmental stimulation is presented to the dog. Once the environmental stimulation is presented to the dog, it has a natural response to the environment based off the way that the genes that were passed down. So essentially what's happening is, this is how the genes interact with the environment. Okay, so I'm gonna go back over that again. The genes interact with the environment, shaping the final output or the totality of the breed, or how the dogs will be selected for future generations. So with the Boerboel, we have a highly athletic, a large dog that has certain characteristics based off of where it was developed, right? And then it allows it to thrive and survive and be useful and purposeful in this environment. So we want to maintain those qualities if we're saying that we're breeding this dog true to the breed. And I think if you look at a lot of the way that the dogs, one of the common ideologies or mindsets is the best dogs are coming from South Africa, right? Well, all the dogs come from South Africa. And one of the big differences that you're going to see with the dogs coming from South Africa, you can almost tell from the pictures, the way that the dogs look, because it's the way that the dogs are kept. Okay, it's the environment. The environment, when you have large pastures, maybe the dogs have acres. I see they keep the dogs behind electric fence a lot of times, or they got large plots of land for the dogs to roam. It's just like a turtle or a shark that's growing up in the fish tank. It's only can be big as the tank allows the shark to grow. So the shark tank is going to help determine the size of the final shark. And that's a classic example of how the nurturing or the nature interacts with the nurture, how nature versus nurture shapes the final output of the dog or the shark. So if we apply the same ideology or theory to the dog, then we have to really take into a strong look at how the new owner is prepared for their dog. How can you be best prepared, or what type of mindset should you have to setting up your dog's environment for it to thrive and be the best dog that it could possibly be? So remember that this breed is a naturally intelligent breed, and they're going to be looking for things to do. So we're trying to, that's why they say one reason that they say that the Borbal is not for the inexperienced owner is because it's best if you have an idea, an understanding of basic dog communication. If you understand how to communicate with your dog and how to read these different signals that your dog is giving you, because the dog can't talk, but they definitely are very communicative. And the way that they are doing that is with their body language. They're able to tell you exactly what but you have to be able to decipher and read, so you got to be paying attention. Now, when the puppy first arrived, remember that it's a South African Borbal. It's been already some puppies, and the reason that we do things the way that we do is because in my experience, I have already seen different type of environments end up with different type of puppies, and when I know, I can almost tell a dog that spends the majority of his day in the crate when I see the dog versus a dog that's got activities or is out and is involved and is wrestling and rumbling with their pack members doing the things that dogs do. It's all, and you have to pay close attention because it is definitely having a effect on the way the final dog that you end up with. So being a new owner, it's best to have a strong understanding of the type of environment that you plan to have for your puppy. What type of stimulations are you going to have? A regular routine and activities to stimulate the dog mentally, because this is how you're going to develop your puppy into the best dog that he could possibly be. If not, you might end up with a nightmare. Or you might end up with problems with the dog not understanding where do they come from. The dog has a right to certain, but based on his breed and his birthrights, to be treated and exposed to certain conditions. His instinctual desire as a Borbal is to be with his person and keep his person accompanying. It's like a best friend, a helper, an assistant, and they assist with the regular duties of the farm. So they are always looking for ways that they can be helpful. And you have to be able to let the dog know it through training and communicating messages, reinforcing messages to the dog. How do you want it to respond, or what is the desired behavior? And when you do that from the age of 9 weeks on and all the way up, you still have to be conscious of what environmental stimulus the dog is exposed to, because it is going to be key in shaping your dog in the totality of the dog. So with that being said, I get questions about a lot of different things, but the end result of a lot of different concerns that people may have, or final outputs, people want to know what is how much to feed the dog, and how big is my dog going to be, and what is he going to look like beyond the color. And it has a lot to do with what you are putting into your dog on a day-to-day basis. That's how dogs grow and develop, humans grow and develop. There are certain ages and certain times that are ideal for the dog to be introduced to different stimulus. It's important. That's why it's good to work with somebody else that understands, or if you don't know or have this previous experience with dogs, so that your expectation for your dog is reasonable and you want to be patient. So with a new puppy, I'll give you a perfect example. with the sit command. Okay, so new puppies, dogs in general, when you first get it, don't have to be a young pup. It can be an older dog that's coming to you from somewhere else, but the dog doesn't know you. The first thing that you're going to have to do is get the dog's attention, right? And you want to set a structure in the way that you do that. You're not going to be giving commands repeatedly. You want to make sure you're going to give the dog a chance to look at you and catch the dog's attention. Now, our puppies, I always make the recommendation for the first day that you feed the dog from the hand. And this is going to get your dog's attention, and you want to be able to develop focus. Once you have the dog's focus, he's always constantly reminded, I need to pay attention to my boss. I need to pay attention to my dad, to my father or brother or mom or whoever, because they have my best interest at heart. They're the ones that's providing my food. They're the ones that is providing my praise. And from this building block of focus, we are able to get into multiple different commands. Be able to go into our sit, and these are our building blocks for the future relationship. And this is the base of our language and communication with our dog. So when you're feeding the dog from the hand, you're able to start to associate paying attention to me with the food, and you got the dog's attention. Now we're going to take this focus and use this as a way to instruct and teach the dog what are the desired behaviors. So why do we do that? Because this is the ideal age for the dog to start to pick up on language, just like a toddler learns his ABCs at a certain age. Or another example is the super puppy method that we employ, developed by the military and Dr. Carmen Battaglia. What we do is stimulate the dog with, you have two control groups of puppies, and this is the basis of the experiment. They have the control group that they don't do anything to, and then they have a group that they're doing an experiment on. And they picking these puppies up, handling the puppies, exposing them to different temperatures, exposing them to wet, exposing them to cold, being picked upside down, east to west, north to south, held in these different ways, versus this control group that they didn't do anything to. What they noticed from the experiment was the group that they gave all of this environmental stimulus to ended up healthier, had a different resistance to bacteria, viral infections, life expectancy. All were enhanced from this early neurological stimulation. So that has a direct example of nature versus nurture. And they took dogs of relatively pure strands or siblings and sisters. They were all the same breed, same bloodline, and they raised the dogs different ways. And as a result, this was the findings. Is a perfect example of nature versus nurture and how it affects the final result of the adult dog. So just to touch on a few things to sum up this conversation. Genes play a very important part in the development of the South African Boerboel breed, as well as the environment. Having an understanding of the environment or the species that you're dealing with will better prepare you for ownership or adoption. And this applies to whatever breed that you may have, not just South African Boerboels. People get, or I see some, oftentimes people get into dogs. They buy the dog because it's cute or because they saw somebody else with the dog and they figure that's a dog for me. The truth of the matter is every dog is designed differently and has a different purpose. Understanding why a dog is bred will better help you get the dog that is best for you. And that's why we don't want everyone to have, well, that's why so many dogs end up in the shelters. It's not about what we want, because people get the dog and then the responsibility to the dog's nature is to have an environment that is nurturing to the individual breed or individual specimen. And if you're not able to do that, it becomes problematic. So don't go buy a beagle if you don't plan on letting the dog run and chase a few rabbits, or don't buy a coon dog if you don't plan on having the dog barking, running, chasing all the time, or be surprised if the dog takes off after a deer and is gone. This is the dog's natural instinct. Think about your lifestyle before you adopt. Understand what your capabilities are going to be to provide for your family member. Set up an environment that is conducive to bringing out the best potential of the dog's genetics. This is how the interaction between genotype and the way what is inherited from the dog's parents versus the phenotype, the way the dog will finally appear. I hope that y'all was able to gain some better understanding. I hope that I wasn't too confusing. Oh my goodness, I missed out on my comments. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm gonna do better next time. But I appreciate y'all for joining, and I want to give you some words of inspiration. You know, because we go through things in life, and it ain't always just about the dogs. If you going through some things, don't worry. Time, stay focused, and you got people that don't understand your vision, but it's not their vision, it's yours. Believe in yourself. 100. Always, family. I appreciate y'all for joining. If y'all have questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. If you have concerns, leave them in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate you, John. And we're gonna try to keep it going. We got more interesting content we're gonna be posting. Stay tuned. We posting videos all the time and editing videos and trying to keep it saucy. If it's something that you like to see or you have an idea, you got a question, let me know. We want to be as helpful as we possibly can. That's what we're here for. If y'all interested in our dogs in particular, you can visit our website, borblepuppy.com. If we able to help y'all in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate y'all for joining. It's a couple more days. Happy holidays. If that's your thing and that's what you're into, happy holidays to you. I think I'll see y'all again before next year. But in closing, everything matters, y'all. So give it your best.
No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and gloves. Now you got a deal run up. No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and now you got a deal run up. Whole gang, whole man, old school, young jam.